Look, if you work anywhere in software sales or marketing right now, you know the painful truth. Our industry has a massive trust problem. We are absolutely drowning in buzzwords, AI hype, and empty promises that buyers have honestly just learned to ignore completely. So today, in this explainer, we're dissecting the anatomy of a perfect, fact-supported narrative. We're looking closely at a cybersecurity logging tool called Cerbi, and it acts as an absolute masterclass in how to sell complex, highly technical products. How? By using verifiable evidence rather than relying on the tired, fluffy marketing tactics we see literally everywhere else.
Okay, so every strong, logic-driven pitch has to start right at the hook, by establishing an undeniable pain point. And for enterprise software, there's a highly predictable security crisis happening right at this very moment. Think about it. You have developers who are heavily incentivized to move fast, right? And to do that, they log freely. But in doing so, they're accidentally exposing highly sensitive data to downstream sinks, places like Splunk, Datadog, or New Relic. It creates this massive, sprawling operational blind spot. For a buyer, just acknowledging this everyday friction between developer velocity and security reality is an immediate hook. Why? Because it's a massive headache they deal with every single day.
Now, instead of making vague, sweeping promises about data loss prevention, an evidence-based narrative relies on instant visual proof. It contrasts a raw log exposing critical data like passwords and social security numbers directly against a governed log that intercepts and redacts those secrets, meaning they never leave the application in the first place. For a technical buyer, seeing really is believing. You don't have to sell them on some lofty concept or force them to imagine the benefit when you can just show them the exact, undeniable outcome of the intervention right out of the gate. So here is the exact playbook we'll be using to pull back the curtain on this Webby winning campaign. Number 1, the hidden data leak. Number 2, stopping leaks at source. Number 3, factual threat evidence. Number 4, precise compliance claims. And finally, number 5, building defensible ROI math.
Let's jump right into part 1, the hidden data leak. Every great pitch needs a deeply articulated problem, and we're going to establish ours using the classic problem, agitate, solve, proof structure, but without any of the usual marketing fluff. To properly agitate a problem, you can't just deal in hypotheticals. You absolutely have to anchor to reality. Searchable analytics stores and telemetry systems are notoriously filled with high-risk fields. But just saying, hey, data gets leaked, isn't enough. This pitch doesn't just warn you, it points directly to massive, undeniable real-world exposures. 10 billion records from CAM4, yeah, with a B, 38 million from Microsoft Power Apps, over 2 million Toyota customers. By citing these massive scale failures, the narrative proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that relying on downstream masking is an industry-wide failure. It creates urgent, undeniable context for the buyer.
Moving to Section 2, stopping leaks at source. So, how do we introduce the solution without sounding like a generic sales brochure full of hand-wavy claims?
Enter Cerbi. The messaging strategy here is surgically precise. Look, most logging and security tools try to fix the mess after it lands in an external vendor platform, which is honestly just too late. Cerbi positions itself as an elegant, upstream solution that enforces governance entirely inside your application before any data ever moves over the wire. In enterprise sales, owning the timeline of the intervention is a massive competitive advantage. If you can prove you stopped the bleeding at the source, you immediately differentiate yourself from every competitor who's just trying to mop up the floor later.
And notice how factual the technical mechanism is presented here. There is absolutely no AI-powered magic box language or revolutionary buzzwords. It's just a highly transparent 5-step architecture. Intercept, validate, redact, tag, and forward. It runs in process to sanitize logs with sub-millisecond impact. For a highly technical buyer like a software engineer or a security architect, this kind of architectural transparency immediately lowers their defenses. When you show exactly how the sausage is made, step by step, you build instant, durable trust.
All right, Section 3, factual threat evidence. This is where we pivot from discussing product features to delivering a logic-driven pitch by anchoring the threat with unassailable third-party evidence.
To truly anchor the threat, you can't just tell executives that hackers are out there and they should be scared. You need bulletproof, third-party proof. This pitch leverages the gold standard, the 2025 Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report, highlighting that a staggering 88% of basic web application breaches rely on stolen credentials instantly validates the massive operational pressure. 88%. That definitively proved the business value of stopping those exact credentials from leaking into your searchable logs in the first place. Now, most mainstream software marketing tries to avoid complex acronyms, but an evidence-based pitch, it actually leans heavily into authoritative standards. By pointing explicitly to the OWASP logging cheat sheet and MITRE definitions to show exactly what sensitive data, like access tokens and database strings, should never be recorded, the pitch perfectly aligns the product with recognized industry authorities. It essentially says to the buyer, look, don't just take our word for it that this is a critical software weakness, take OWASP's word for it. That totally shifts the burden of proof off the salesperson and onto the industry standard.
Next up, Section 4, Precise Compliance Claims. We have to tackle the world of compliance, which, let's be honest, is an absolute minefield of bad SaaS marketing and what we like to call fear arithmetic.
Lazy marketing loves to claim that a single software tool can magically satisfy massive, sprawling regulations like HIPAA or GDPR, but sophisticated buyers know that's a complete lie. Factual marketing, on the other hand, is restrained. It explains exactly how the tool supports specific controls, like PCI DSS Requirement 10, and aligns with SOC 2 objectives by simply improving the safety of audit evidence. It stays firmly in its lane, and paradoxically, by claiming less, the narrative becomes infinitely more believable to a seasoned compliance officer. This level of restraint builds incredible credibility. A platform engineer or a CISO will smell the marketing BS a mile away if you pretend one shiny new widget makes a massive legacy enterprise completely compliant. By openly acknowledging that compliance is actually about the whole organization's implemented control environment and not just one single software purchase, you demonstrate deep industry respect. You're treating your buyer like an adult, and honestly, that is a shockingly rare tactic in enterprise software sales. Finally, Section 5, Building Defensible ROI Math. We reach the absolute cornerstone of our explainer, proving the return on investment without insulting the finance team's intelligence.
When it comes to pricing, a flat "we save you $150 per gigabyte" claim is total fiction, and every CFO in the world knows it. A truly defensible pitch builds a vendor-aware economic model. It actively acknowledges the deep nuances of the market, recognizing that Datadog charges heavily for indexed events on top of basic ingestion, while Splunk operates on massive volume discount curves. Running your ROI calculations based on actual rate card math from these specific vendors proves to the procurement team that you've really done your homework and aren't just pulling numbers out of thin air.
And beyond hard software costs, a factual pitch also anchors on labor recapture using indisputable public data. By citing the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the pitch models that saving just one single manual hour a week for a security analyst translates to about $4,450 a year in recaptured value. That's a highly defensible, objective unit value. When you use official government labor data, the procurement team really can't argue with your baseline assumptions.
Which brings us to the ultimate conservative value model. Being explicitly clear about your mathematical assumptions, stating outright the 100 gigabytes a day, the conservative 15% reduction, the specific 6 hours saved, is infinitely more persuasive than some flashy graphic promising a completely unproven $1 million return. It treats the buyer like a rational, skeptical professional who desperately wants to check your math. And guess what? When they can recreate your math themselves, they sell the product internally for you.
So here is our final thought for you to chew on. Take a really hard look at your own go-to-market claims right now. Are you treating your buyers like finance professionals, or are you just treating them like easy marks? By utilizing objective threat data, incredibly precise compliance language, and vendor-aware economics, you don't just sell a software tool, you sell undeniable logic. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this framework helps you go out there and build a more factual, bulletproof narrative for whatever you're selling.